Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rovardo. A little under the weather, but we're pushing through today after a tough Giants loss last night, absolutely littered with injuries. And, it's a day after. We're going to reflecting on these injuries, some updates for you guys, Saquon Barkley, how this offensive line played. We're going to take a look, Nate Solder, the turnstile left tackle. The guy had just abomination of a game. He was destroyed all night long. Matt Peart, Anthony, vouching for Matt Peart all these weeks, finally gets an opportunity. Actually had a pretty solid game, so we're going to talk about that as well. Man, there's just a lot to really break down and after a game that really kind of exposed us on multiple levels, especially on defense. But this injury situation is just an absolute disaster, man. Like, where do we go from here when next week we don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be available? We know Saquon Barkley is not going to be healthy for at least 3 or 4 weeks. Kadarius Toney also had an ankle injury, precautionary X-rays. I think it came back negative. He's okay. Then you have Kenny Golladay, who has a knee issue. The guy's a walking crutch, man. The guy can't stay healthy. He's had a hip, hamstring, and knee injuries in 5 weeks, plus training camp. It's getting a little out of hand at this point. Where do we go from here, Anthony? Before we dive into all this content, all this stuff that we have to discuss, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. I mean, if there's any singular positive takeaway from yesterday's game, it's obviously Kadarius Toney. We'll get into that, but also another slight takeaway. Matt Peart played a pretty good game. We're going to get into that. I think that he played better than Nate Solder has all season long, and I think that he proved me right saying that he should have been the starter from day one. I think that might be a discussion that we're going to have throughout this week, and hopefully we get to see him start in week 6 and get to see him develop going forward. But these injuries, man, they're going to kill us. If any Giants fans felt hope after week 4 that the season could turn around and that the Giants could find their way into the playoffs somehow, a lot of you have probably lost that hope and lost that feeling of hope. I know I have. I don't think it's possible anymore. Too many injuries just piled up, and honestly, too many bad performances in the first 5 weeks of the season. There's no way that this team can turn it around, do a complete 180, go from being blown out 20-44 to making the playoffs. I just don't see it. And even if they do, I don't see them going anywhere in the playoffs. So I think we got another long season ahead of us. It feels over after the 5th week, which really sucks. We were really hoping that this year we would at least be playing meaningful football through November. It seems like we won't even be playing meaningful football in October. Very unfortunate sequence of events there, especially when you consider that injuries kind of just finished it. We had a chance to turn things around. Injuries really just ruined it at the end of the day, which is really unfortunate. But obviously, prayers out to all those players that were injured, Daniel Jones especially. That was really a really scary scene yesterday, watching him stumble off the field, watching him not even be able to walk off the field, had to get carted off the field into the locker room. Horrible situation. I hope he's okay, and I hope he doesn't miss too much time. He was having a phenomenal 3rd season. He was really having the breakout season that all Giants fans were hoping he would. So hopefully he's able to return, play some good football, and maybe prove, the doubters wrong and make this comeback successfully.
And shout out to the one Cowboys player who tried to help him. I think it was German Curse. Don't know his first name, but Curse.
Javon
Javon
Curse.
Curse. So, shout out to him for trying to help. I respect that. But this was a chippy game, man. Both sides did some dirty stuff. Leonard Williams ripped off Tony Pollard's helmet. Devontae Booker got his helmet taken off by the ear holes as he was being tackled on that touchdown run. I mean, it was all over the place. A lot of missed flags. I mean, I don't know how you call that, not call that a face mask when your helmet literally is getting ripped off your head in the middle of a play. But, who am I to justify, the payments to the referees from Jerry World? But obviously, I have no idea if that's actually happening. Probably not. But you know what? Home field advantage is real for the Cowboys, and I feel like the Giants don't get that same home field treatment all the time. And that defensive pass interference on Kadarius Toney at the end of the game there when he goes down and they jump on his back could definitely go both ways. I know he slipped a little bit, but you can't jump on the guy's back and not let him get up. I feel like that's kind of an indication that you're not letting the receiver even attempt to get to the football. So probably a pass interference if it's reversed. But you know what? This is a game we have to forget about. We saw a star born yesterday in Kadarius Toney. The guy had 11 touches for 196 yards. He had that wildcat run on the goal line. He almost got a score there too. He is a weapon, man. And the good thing is the league isn't going to be suspending him. So they'll probably just fine him a pretty decent amount for the punch on KZ. But for the most part, he is not going to be suspended as long as he can play and he's healthy and that ankle is not, severely injured. He's going to be back on the field this upcoming week, hopefully, unless Joe Judge wants to implement his own consequences, which would be just the stupidest thing you could possibly do, considering he basically is their entire offense. If you take him out, you're dooming yourself to a pretty awful week 6 against a strong Los Angeles Rams team that is going to destroy us. I'm not even going to beat around the bush anymore. We're going to get crushed, and it's going to be ugly. Our offense without Daniel Jones, Saquon, Andrew Thomas, who knows if he's going to play. At the very least, let's use these next couple weeks to get Matt Peart snaps. Get Kadarius Toney out there, start to get him more incorporated. Find a trade partner for Evan Ingram because this season's done. Instead of getting a 2023 compensatory pick for Evan Ingram, let's just trade him now and get a pick for 2022 and let the new GM, which is going to happen. There's no way if Gettleman ends up staying as GM, John Mara, the NFL needs to get involved. Seriously, the NFL needs to get involved because our owner is purposely trying to drive this team into the ground. There's no way around. We're really good at drafting receivers and absolutely terrible at drafting every other position, apparently, because we're investing $75 million into the defensive line for Leonard Williams, who literally did nothing yesterday. I don't think I saw Leonard Williams show up once. I don't think he did any much on pressure. I don't think he did much as a run stopper. For the most part, he was invisible. He was a ghost. So, and then you look at Dexter Lawrence, who they pulled out of the game for a while because he wasn't doing much on run defense either. I do want to give a little update on Saquon Barkley. He's expected to be out 2 to 4 weeks with a low ankle sprain. That probably will hamper him significantly for the rest of the season. Who knows if there's severe damage? I've had ankle sprains. I've had 2 high ankle sprains. I've had low ankle sprains. Low definitely is easier to come back from, but once the swelling goes down, he'll start to work his way back. But that's an ankle he's already injured, he's already had this issue before. So it's going to take even longer, and it's going to be a lot easier to reproduce that injury in the future. Saquon Barkley, man, is just unlucky. I feel bad for the guy. I feel so bad for him that he keeps getting these injuries. They're not his fault. The freak accidents just keep happening to him. They're not self-inflicted. He's just trying to make plays. That Daniel Jones pass on the slant route should have been on target. It was not. There was pressure in his face. Nate Solder, who was an absolute abomination, Anthony. And let me ask you a question. How much do you think Nate Solder is getting paid this year? Because I want to kind of crap on him for a second because he was absolutely horrendous.
I forget what exactly the official number is. Why don't you just crap on him and let's have some fun doing it?
9.5. We paid him 9.5 million this season to do what exactly? Let me tell you. The guy gave up 3 quarterback hits, 5 hurries, and 8 pressures against Dallas. Andrew Thomas, for the first 4 games of the season, gave up 1 quarterback hit, 5 hurries, and 6 pressures. Andrew Thomas gave up less in 4 games than Nate Solder did in 1 game at left tackle, and Nate Solder's been playing left tackle for like a decade. Okay? He missed last year, I know, but the guy knows how to play left tackle. He played it for a decade, 10 years of experience. He should be able to step in and be at least average. He was so far below average. He had the lowest pass blocking grade of any starting tackle in the league yesterday. And he started a 14 overall pass blocking grade per PFF. He was getting mauled by Randy Gregory all game long, absolutely mauled. He couldn't even stand his ground. I don't want to have, if anyone has anything good to say about Nate Solder, save it, bro. Save it. I don't want to hear it because it's an absolute load of crap. If you think Nate Solder had a good game, some people kept saying to me on Twitter, Nate Solder played well. He did not. He looked awful. If you think he played well, go watch the game again. You're going to see a guy who was better off a freaking bag blowing through the New York City breeze than actual left tackle in the NFL. He needs to be sitting on the bench while Matt Peart gets essential snaps the next few weeks, Anthony. I know you agree with that. I mean, what more else can we say? Like, the guy is awful. He's a terrible player at this point in his career. They're paying him to be absolute garbage. He was garbage at right tackle when Andrew Thomas was starting at left tackle. The Giants just had more ability and flexibility to send him help. Now we're seeing it on full display how bad he really is right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an issue for weeks. It's been an issue actually for years that Nate Solder has never lived up to the contract he was given in 2018. They restructured the contract, basically gave him a brand new one for this upcoming season, or this season that's in play right now. And he's still not even living up to that one, and he's getting a lot less money than he was in 2018. So this, from top to bottom, was a failure from Dave Gettleman. Indisputably, the signing of Nate Solder was a failure. We did not get the value that we wanted out of him. But now we're at the point where he took an entire year off of football and then was basically just handed a starting job back once he returned. I never understood it. I know Matt Peart did fight for that job and he almost got it, I guess. He had it for most of the offseason, and then it was just given to Nate Solder. But to me, I never saw the justification for that. I always thought, yeah, he struggled a little bit in the preseason. But what Matt Peart truly needs is not some more reps in practice, not more time sitting behind Nate Solder as his mentor. He needs some in-game experience. He needs to go out there in the regular season and play some games. Sure, he's going to have some bad snaps. Daniel Jones, he's going to have to avoid some pressure from his front side. It's not like it's his blind side. Have him go out there and play some snaps. Have him get used to playing NFL football. The Giants went a different path. They said, no, let's let this veteran, Nate Solder, who clearly doesn't have it anymore, let's let him go out there. Let him get our quarterback killed week after week. Then Matt Peart steps in there this week and plays exponentially better than Nate Solder has all season. So that right there tells me I was right this whole time. Matt Peart just needs some in-game reps. Just let him play some freaking games. What are you gaining from a 10-snap preseason performance? How are you all, everyone in their chairs at home, like critiquing him and criticizing him and evaluating him on his 10 snaps that he had in the preseason or his only 150 snaps that he had in the regular season of last year? He played 68 snaps this week. That's almost half of what he did last season. So he really only played 2 games worth of snaps last season. He didn't even get to play a third game. Let him play some freaking games and let him get some work out there. Otherwise, he's never going to develop in the starting tackle that we want him to be. Everyone's like, oh, clearly he doesn't have it. He can't even beat Nate Solder out for the job. No, I just think the Giants coaching staff is incompetent. I think he clearly could have beaten Nate Solder out for the job if he was given an opportunity to. If he started in week 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, I think he would have developed far more than Nate Solder has developed in those 5 games because he's much younger and has much greater intangible traits at this point in his career. So I want to see Matt Peart as a starter from here on out. It's time now. The Giants, clearly the season is going to the can. You need to get your young guys out there. You need to get them developing, playing, and starting. Matt Peart needs to be starting and playing and developing for the future of this team. Because if we get to the end of the regular season and Matt Peart never plays, well, what are the Giants going to do? They're going to prioritize finding a brand new right tackle in the offseason. Now, what if he were to play and he looks like a true all-pro? And the Giants would never know it unless they let him play. We know that Nate Solder is never going to look like a true all-pro. Matt Peart, he's only played 210 total snaps in his career. We don't know. He could be a Pro Bowl level right tackle. He could be a starting level right tackle. We have no freaking idea because the Giants haven't even given him an opportunity to prove himself in the regular season. That needs to change now. He played well on Sunday. Okay, let's see him play again this next Sunday, and let's see him continue to play well. I mean, seriously, guys, if Nate Solder is starting versus the Rams on Sunday, I'm going to have a conniption. I'm going to throw a tantrum. I'm going to be beyond pissed off at that decision. Nate Solder looked like the most watched player in the NFL this past week. It was horrible, despicable performance from Nate Solder on Sunday. So I'm ready, man. Matt Peart needs to be the starter from here on out. And if we don't do that, I'm definitely going to be rioting in the streets of Twitter.
Well, if you were paying me $9.5 million a year, I would go out there and leave it all on the field, bro. Like I would eat so many burgers. I'd be 400 pounds. I'd be a bowling ball of a human being. I'd still go out there and try and kick some ass. I'd try. At points, I didn't even think Nate Solder was trying. I actually clipped him getting thrown to the ground by Randy Gregory. Like straight up, a grown man. He's a big guy. And Randy Gregory just takes him and throws him to the ground. It's absurd. Like, I will eat 400 hamburgers from Wendy's right now. I'll gain some weight. Giants sign me, and I bet you I could do better than that lousy performance that we saw yesterday. It just absolutely like no fundamentals. He couldn't stop the bull rush. It wasn't even. There was nothing. There was nothing anybody could do. You know, they had the rotation at left guard continues to happen. It's a disaster, man. Like I'm done with the Nate Solder experiment. Save the freaking money, bro. Cut him. I don't give a crap. Or just sit him on the bench in case you absolutely need him. Worst case scenario, it's time to start the young guys. And that's what really pissed me off the most is that Dave Gettleman even said it's time to start the young guys and then doesn't do it, right? And then doesn't have the young guys start, doesn't have Matt Peart getting snaps. Talk about malpractice. Now we're talking about what if Matt Peart, like you said, what if Matt Peart ends up being a good player? And now we're like, what happens if like Andrew Thomas didn't get injured? Nate Solder starting the whole year. They don't know what Matt Peart is, and they go out and they realize they have to draft a guy in the first round now. But now we have Matt Peart. He has a good game. We're like, oh, wait a second. You know, maybe he's something there. Maybe we don't have to go get a right tackle. Maybe we had him all along. We just weren't freaking using him. So this is definitely something that I'm passionate about. I know Anthony is too. And the coaching staff is supposed to get these things right, man. Like we're not supposed to be the ones getting it right. That's the point. They're paid millions of dollars to make these decisions and get them right. We are just talking about it on the side, and we're the ones like getting some of these things right. And it's like, okay, this is a problem. The Twitter GMs are getting things right. Like that's when that the organization's a little dysfunctional, when the Twitter GMs are doing things right and they're saying the right things, and the coaching staff's doing the opposite. You're like, oh, okay, there's something off here. But guys, the state of the Giants, where are we going? Down. The freaking Chicago Bears are winning and beating teams with Justin Fields at quarterback, and he's not doing that well. Like their defense is phenomenal. We have the personnel on defense. What's going on? You know what I mean? Like the linebacker core is weak. That's true. Our secondary, James Bradbury, looks like a different player this year. He's not the same player as he was last season. He's getting burned on the outside. They're putting him in man coverage too much. He's at the end of the day, I think he's a zone coverage corner. I don't think he's a man coverage corner. He got toasted by CeeDee Lamb. I know he should have had help over the top by Julian Love, but Julian Love was also trying to help out on the other side. They're playing single high safety. They got to go back to playing cover 2, cover 3. They can't play cover 1 anymore. It's just not working. But then the offside is like, they're not getting any pressure because they're not playing cover 1. It's just an absolute mess right now. They don't have the pass rushers. And then when they try to play cover 1 to provide more pass rush, the secondary gets toasted because the cornerbacks aren't very good, or James Bradbury is getting exposed. You know what I mean? Only guy that looked good yesterday, in my opinion, was Kadarius Toney. He's the only one that impressed me, and Matt Peart. Those two guys. I mean, Will Hernandez was okay too. I didn't see much coming from him, but seriously, this is a team that is in absolute shambles. We just got freaking destroyed by Dallas on national television. A lot went down. A lot of the injuries. There's a lot of people to blame. A lot of factors to blame. But Anthony, what's the state of this team? Like, where are we going from here, man? Like, what's next? Do we essentially we're just surviving the rest of the year, and we're going to be walking away with a top 5 pick for the most part, because our schedule is daunting and we have half our offense out.
Yeah, what's next for Fireside Giants is making elite content daily, of course. But now I'm probably going to pivot towards saying, fans, let me know what draft prospects you want to look at. That's where the season is pivoting. It's looking like we have
Do a
to,
Peart
again,
breakdown this week. Someone's
yeah,
asking
I
for a
think
Peart
Matt Peart
breakdown.
breakdown. I think Matt Peart breakdown, Kadarius Toney breakdown. Those two are really good ones. But of course, I think going forward, we're gonna have to start considering the draft and the future of this football team.
We have no
Because right
choice.
now, the present of this football team, it's not fun. It's not fun to cover. It's not fun to think about or look at. This team sucks, and it's really not an enjoyable experience right now. So, of course, we're gonna try and look ahead to the draft, look ahead to greener pastures. Because yeah, this team is trending down, but you never know. Maybe at the end of the season, the Giants clean house again, blah, blah, blah. Someone new comes in and they turn things around next year or the year after that, something like that. I don't know. It's a process nowadays in the NFL. Teams do have really quick turnarounds. I mean, the Buffalo Bills got Josh Allen, got Stephon Diggs. Within 3 years, the title contenders, right? It happens, but other times it doesn't happen. Teams have to filter through coaches and GMs and quarterbacks until eventually they find the right fit. I mean, the Bengals are exactly that. The Bengals haven't been good since Carson Palmer and Chad Ochocinco. Now, all of a sudden, they just went toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and Joe Burrow looked like an absolute stud while playing with a throat contusion. It happens, but they got the number 1 overall pick in that year's draft in order to get Joe Burrow. So sometimes you just have to be really, really bad before you can get really, really good. And the Giants have been really, really bad for a very long time, but they haven't had the right people in the front office to turn things around. So they probably going to have to look into making some changes very soon, and hopefully that can help them turn things around. But right now, it's a very sad time to be a Giants fan. It's a real bleak outlook that we all have to have on our favorite team. But at the end of the day, it just is what it is. We can hope for the best in the future and probably start looking forward to the NFL offseason.
Ugh. It's week 6, man. I don't want to think about that stuff. Why does we always got to go through this, man? Why do we always got to be going through the ringer? Oh, the season's half over, and we're already thinking about the draft. I'm tired of this nonsense. Jerry Jones is up there laughing and is sweet, and John Mara's sitting there pounding, kicking trash cans and shit. Like, what? What do we got to do to get this guy to wake up? Like, fire the dinosaur who's running your team. You know what I mean? Like, someone's got to take some accountability here. Someone's got to say, like, we're not, like, I'm sorry for putting you guys through this freaking pain and suffering. Like, John Mara's all talk, no action, bro. Every season he's like, we got to start winning. We got to make it to the playoffs. We have to do better. And then his team starts the year 1-4, 0-5, 1-6, 2-7. And we're sitting here again like, John Mara, what are you doing up there, bro? Like, how, like, do the exact opposite of what you're doing now and you'll be successful. Go out and hire a third party to help analyze the inner workings of this team to see what's really going on. Who's at fault here, right? Your son Chris, he's great at pointing out situate like our position players, right? Saquon, Kadarius. He's great at finding these these guys like that, but everybody else is a mess. You know what I mean? Everybody else is a mess. So it's like, do the exact opposite of what you're doing now. Find a third party, bring them in to analyze the entire organization, top to bottom, see what the problem is, and then have them create a list of general managers who aren't Dave Gettleman's dinosaur ass, man. I'm tired of it. Someone's got to take the blame. Someone's got to take the fall. Dave Gettleman let Pat Shurmur take the fall, and now he's over in Denver. You know, Ben McAdoo's with Dallas as their tight ends coach, and he's doing well again. We won more games with Ben McAdoo than we did with Joe Judge and Pat Shurmur. Okay? We won more games with Ben McAdoo. How does that make you feel, Anthony? The fact that Ben McAdoo and his dumbass haircut won more games than Pat Shurmur and Joe Judge, and we hated Ben McAdoo. We despised him, right? And now he's looking like the savior of the franchise. Like, how does that make you feel? Because it pisses me off for sure.
You just say Ben McAdoo looked like the savior of the franchise. I mean, I definitely don't think it
In
ever.
comparison, no, I'm saying in comparison to Shurmur and Judge, like he won more games, and that's what matters the most. He won more games, even though OBJ's running all over the place. Like people don't respect it.
I still I don't agree
I'm
with
not
this
saying any of
take
them are
though either
good.
way. Yeah, I don't agree with the
I think
take
they all
either way
suck.
though.
I'm just
Paling in
saying, like, they all
comparison.
suck.
I get what you're saying, but Ben McAdoo he holds the record for the worst season in Giants history at 3-13. You can't take that away from him. That goes down in history. So yes, he won more games because Odell Beckham Jr. carried the team to some victories in 2016. They won in spite of Ben McAdoo. Everybody knows that. The freaking players even said that they won in spite of him. So they didn't win because of him, but they definitely lost because of him in 2017 when they went 3-13. Now, yeah, there was a lot of injuries that season as well, but going into that season, that team on paper was one of the best teams in the NFL, and they totally blew it in the first few weeks of the season, and then everyone got hurt, and then it spiraled out of control, and he went 3-13, and he didn't know how to handle the media. One thing that we can say about Joe Judge, even though they're losing, he still knows how to handle the media pretty well, and he still knows how to talk to fans and make them feel okay. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to compare it, our current head coach to previous head coaches, if there's any of the ones that you want to say maybe the Giants made the mistake in moving on from, it's probably Pat Shurmur. Maybe he just needed more time as a head coach. He's still a phenomenal OC. He's doing a good job over in Denver for the most part. They're very limited in their personnel at quarterback, but he's doing a decent enough job there. And the team was winning games at a much higher rate, and the offense was a lot more creative than it is now. But at the end of the day, man, it's a process. Again, like I said, teams filter through head coaches, they filter through GMs, they filter through quarterbacks until they find the right one. The Giants have filtered through head coaches. They have not filtered through GMs. They have stuck with one GM since 2018. And before that, they had Jerry Reese, who was with the team since, I believe, 2009. They need to start making changes in the front office if they want to start making changes in the player personnel and the head coaching personnel. So there's a lot of issues here, but it's a top to bottom issue. It's not really starting at the head coach level. It starts at the ownership level, and then it goes down to the GM level, and then it goes down to all the VP of scouting level, Chris Mara, and then it goes down to the head coach and the coaching staff underneath him, and then the players. It's top to bottom failure by the Giants. The blame that needs to be placed is not necessarily on Joe Judge. Yes, he deserves a share of the blame, but the blame truly needs to be placed on John Mara. He is living in a prehistoric age, and he is not actually putting this team that he owns in position to succeed. He's lying to fans week after week, saying year after year, saying there's going to be wholesale changes. There's never any wholesale changes. John Mara is a fraud. He's a liar, and it's time for him to do something about it and make some changes.
Yeah, and the final thing I'll say, the only coach whose job should be protected right now is offensive line coach Rob Sale. He's the only one that's shown actual progress this year. That and maybe Jerry Shaplinski, because Daniel Jones has taken massive steps forward. But like, I have no words, guys. Let us know what you think state of the franchise is, what the future of the team looks like in your eyes, because to me, it's like an old dog you just got to put down, man. He's in misery, he's in pain. Just put it down. Like start again and get a puppy. Start again. Like it's over, man. Like this is I don't want to be pessimistic, but like I'm just like at a loss for words at this point. The injuries, the lack of discipline. It's just the only reason if we didn't have Kadarius Toney in that last game, I would be completely in grieving state right now. I would be grieving. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like so hot, so angry. Kadarius Toney was the only reason I actually enjoyed watching that game because he was that good. And he is a star. He's going to be one of the best playmakers in the league. He had the highest receiving grade of any receiver in week 5. And he beat out Devontae Adams, who had 203 yards receiving and a score. So we got a stud on the team, but we got to build off of it. We got a couple studs. We need the coaching. That's the thing, though. The coaching situation is clearly a problem because we have good players. Like if you had another team's coaches, if you took the Browns coaches or the Ravens coaches or any of those other good teams, they would make do with our talent. We have good talent. That's not the problem here. The problem is the discipline, the missed tackles. Those things are all disciplinary. You know what I mean? Like Joe Judge, for all intents and purposes, is the most disciplinary coach that I've ever seen. You know what I mean? In my short life. And I know you older guys have seen a lot of disciplinary coaches. So, he tries to come off as this hard ass, and I don't know what's going on, all these injuries and whatnot, but I got nothing. But guys, make sure to subscribe below on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll have some good film reviews coming out this week on Kadarius Toney, some highlight vids on Toney, and of course, we'll take a look at Matt Peart at right tackle and the good that we did see from this game. As always, have a fantastic start to your week, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow.